Welcome to Playing in Traffic. This is our disclaimer song. This is our disclaimer song. It's our opinion. Don't sue us. Don't sue us. If you didn't want us to make a podcast about you, then you probably shouldn't have started a religion where you brainwash people and separated them from your family, so it's kind of your fault. But don't sue us. Don't sue us. You know who you are, so don't do it. Don't sue us. Don't sue us. Hi there, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Playing in Traffic.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I cannot even believe how much love and support. And yeah, you guys have been everybody has been reaching out. Has been so amazing.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot more interaction than we were expecting. So you guys are awesome. We're so excited that people are listening and enjoying it. And send us emails, share the podcast, keep listening. We got so much more to talk about. So
I know. I just want to say hi to Tracy because she's our cousin from South Carolina, and she was so sweet and so supportive, and we haven't talked to her in a really long time, and it was really, really nice. We got to hear from a lot of people we haven't heard from in a long time, and it was so nice.
Yeah.
And I am just so thankful. You know, this is the whole reason why I was able to come out of this mind control group, because of such a strong support system and support group. I mean, without you guys, none of this would have ever been possible. So anyway, thank you so much. There's actually going to be an episode dedicated to all my lovely family and friends later on, but that's later. That's a tearjerker one.
Yeah.
Bring your Kleenex for that one.
This is just our first time recording since we put out since we started, and it's just awesome. We're so excited.
And we're trying some new audio today, so hopefully it'll be a little bit better. If it's not, let us know.
Yeah, let us know. We're trying something different.
All right, so today we are going to go into detail about what is a cult. You know, when we first started, we kind of talked about this last time. Like, one of the first things they teach you is about what is a cult. I think we kind of talked about it last time a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
And that's one of the first things that they teach you. And then you just kind of stick with it. And like their definition of a cult comes from the Bible. And they have like this whole, I can't find the study, but they have this whole checklist of what is a cult. Well, there's this cult expert. His name is Hassan. And he wrote this book called Combating Cult Mind Control. This book has been a lifesaver for me. Seriously, there have been several books, but this book is amazing.
You guys, she won't even let me borrow it. She
No.
won't even let me borrow it. Just to read it, she said, get your own copy, Dan.
Yeah, I need to reference it continuously. This made me realize for the first time that I was in a cult. I've read several other books. I've researched a lot of things, but finally when I read this book, I finally was able to say the C word, because I was not able to say it before.
And it's not cunt, ladies and gentlemen.
Jeez, that's not this kind of podcast. Sorry, grandmas.
Sorry, grandmas.
Yeah, so I really hated that word. Like, it was the worst word because you're already prepared and you're already convinced that you're not in a cult, that you're in the truth. And of course, you would not be in a cult. Like, nobody would ever think that they're in a cult. It's really hard to explain, but it's just a really weird word. So anyway, so this Hassan, he was in the Moonies. He was a leader in the Moonies, which is also called the Unification Church. And it's also started a religion that started in Korea, has a lot of similarities to our church. So I think that's why his writings really touched me a lot. And I listened to a lot of his podcasts. He's such a fascinating person. And anyway, he created this model. It's called the BITE model. And it's so that you can understand if you have been under any type of mind control. Because, of course, nobody knows if they're under mind control. Like, you don't know. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So he, created this model that you can compare to kind of see, what kind of group are you in. Because there are a lot of groups that are not cults. And not practicing mind control. So you really want to be careful. So his, model is that there are 4 ways that a group can have control over you. One is through behavior control for the B. One is for information control. One is T for thought control, and E is for emotional control. And so if any of these things are happening within an organization, then that's probably a sign that it is a cult, that they are practicing mind control. And so when I actually found out something really interesting, that there's a difference between brainwashing and mind control. Did you know that, Lindsay?
I didn't.
So brainwashing is more a clear distinction between an enemy and the person being brainwashed. It's usually like done under duress. It's a very clear like power structure. There's somebody that's doing the brainwashing over somebody lower, and it's very in control. And when you take them out of that situation, then easily that brainwashing can be taken away. But then mind control is when it's done without the person knowing, and it's done subtly. It's done subliminally. It's done without them knowing, and it's done over a little bit of a period of time. And you don't know that there's a distinction between, a victim and then whatever that person is. I don't know, what would that person be called?
The perpetrator.
The perpetrator. So anyway, there's a difference. I thought that was very interesting.
That is very interesting.
I thought it was very interesting.
When you read that, was that kind of a big click for you of like, oh.
Right, because people are like, you're brainwashed. And I'm like, I'm not brainwashed.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not brainwashed. But then when you look at mind control, you're like, oh, well, when you break that apart, that could be a possibility. So we're going to go through each one by one. There's a lot to unpack. There's so many things. So if you guys have a specific point that you want us to focus more on, then just let us know. Like send us a message, get a hold of us. You guys know how to get a hold of us. So we would really love to hear.
Our phone numbers are.
Yeah, right. 555 is not easy to do. All right, so let's start off with behavior control. Okay, so behavior control, I'm just going to kind of list off some of the things that you should look for in an organization if you're involved. So a lot of these overlap each other, but we're going to go over them. So control of where the person lives. If an organization is controlling where you live, that might be a sign. A control over what you wear. A control over your food, your sleep, your jobs, your routines, and also having a specific culture. So we're going to go through that one by one and sort of unpack each one. And I'm just going to kind of compare it because, it's important to sort of compare the day-to-day things with this. So control of where he lives. Would you say check? Check.
I was checking while you're doing that, and I think we're hitting all of them. Yeah, control of where you lived.
So at first, it wasn't like that at first, but as you get deeper into it, then one by one you become, roommates with members all together, and it's a good way to save money, honestly. But it's also, there's many, many reasons why that could happen. And then as you get deeper into it, as you become a leader, then eventually we lived inside of the church, and we were like church helpers. So, that was definitely happening. And then later, we were sent off to branch churches. So we were sent off to different cities, and that was really, really hard because the cities were kind of far from our families. So we were really sad about that. And that was not something that really sat well with us the whole time. Like the whole time we just missed our families. We were in constant contact, but that was something that was really hard.
Yeah. Mom and I and my daughter, we drove down to come visit when you were in, can I say where?
I don't care.
It doesn't matter. It was like 2 hours away.
Yeah.
It wasn't like in another state. But,
yeah.
And the whole time we were just like, what the mother? We're getting so like, what are we going to do with this crazy, crazy, silly girl?
So we lived in the church.
But we were very good about like being like, that's fine, we're gonna come find you no matter where you go anyway.
They sure did. They sure did. They came to see where we lived, and we lived at the church, so it was very awkward. I'm like, this is where we live in this little room. So it was very tight. So it was me and my husband and then my little boy. Yeah, it was very, okay, I will say it was, it was communal living. So there's no privacy, which means when you're married, there's really like no sexual being, there just isn't. Because there's no privacy, there's no time to like think. There's no time to cultivate a relationship with your husband or your children or your parents. There's no time because when you're living in the church, you're constantly serving from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed. So there's no time to like sit and think, to have any type of reflection. You're just continuously moving forward to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, until all of a sudden, you're like 10 years later and you're like, what the hell happened to me? Okay, anyway, so that was control of where he lives. Control of your clothes, okay? So it's always important that you look graceful, especially if you're a woman. And well, the men also, the men, they had a certain look, we need to imitate our leaders. We need to like follow the good example and be graceful and not like show any type of,
Yeah. You guys always look like you were going to work in a bank.
Yeah,
every time you come to the church, like no matter what time of day, everybody looked like they were like on their way to like a desk job.
It's like business attire.
Yeah, it was like business cash kind of.
Right. But then it's also like your haircut. Like your hairstyle needs to be graceful. The men don't really have facial hair. Like that's really discouraged for the men to have facial hair. And they would sort of do their hair all in similar ways.
What about, would that fall into like the... Never mind.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that another time.
Something else for you later.
Yeah. So all of that, women were really encouraged to wear nylons. We don't have to get very specific, but that was something that was so hard. And heels, like constantly wearing heels, When you're a church leader, you're expected to always, look presentable. And when you're constantly tired and you have a little baby and
you live there
and you have no privacy, I mean, you literally like barely have time to brush your hair. And so it's very hard it's like unattainable standards, And also because you're living in the church, you're expected to like always have everything perfectly tidy and neat. And it's very tricky when you have, all of your family packed in one little tight room and, you're so busy. And so it's sort of something that you struggle with that whole time. Okay, the other one was about food, that they would control your food. I don't say that they really controlled our food, but like we would eat communally. Like we were a family and families eat together. So we would have breakfast together. We would have lunch together. We would have dinner together. And then late at night when everybody was starving, we would go out and we would get Taco Bell and the worst kind of food ever. It was like so much junk food and crap food, but I will say that there was a lot that I learned because I helped a lot in the kitchen. So I really, I was able to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
That was something that was
really, really good. You introduced us to a lot of strange food, which was cool.
We got a lot of good, like, Korean food, Mexican food, El Salvadorian food. We had delicious food, I will say.
That's probably my favorite part of your influence with the church was that you were always making like really
but you know what? Food is going to come up later because it's also connected to one of the other characteristics in the bite model because food was also used as a reward. Yeah. Sometimes as a reward to like make us feel better after being rebuked really bad.
And also removal of food.
Removal of food. Oh, that's true. We would also do fasting. Yeah, so we would fast, just for a few certain religious days. Some would do it, for personal reflection, for some type of, special prayer. But, like I said, it's something that Christians do. They fast. So it wasn't that strange or that extreme, it was just something that was part of our,
Yeah.
services, I guess. And then the other one was sleep, you guys. Let's talk about sleep. Oh my goodness. I think that this is a really big one that is, used in such a subtle way that you don't even really realize it. So, we would have One thing that was sort of, it was not required, but it was sort of something that you did if you had a lot of faith, is you would get up in the early morning to pray, 5 a.m. And to be honest, it was like so hard for me. And a lot of like the services, like during the feast, you have to get up at 5 a.m. and be to church at 5 a.m., you know, to pray and to study. And then after that, a lot of people just went straight to work or straight to school or whatever. And then you have to come back at 8 o'clock for another service. And so you're just in this constant state of exhaustion. And so it's not just that you're tired, but when you're that exhausted, your brain cannot function properly. And that's what I've been learning about. You know, your brain cannot have good critical thinking skills when it's constantly tired like that.
Yeah, and then didn't you mention something about like the tone of the services at early morning would sound more like chanting?
So
Not
I
like
read a little
chanting,
bit.
but-
I read a little bit about like hypnosis, and I'm not saying that that's what happened or anything. It was really interesting. If you guys are interested in this, let us know, and we can do some research about it. But it talked about how you can, when you're really tired and you're doing intense studies or intense praying or intense singing, like when you sing all together in a communal way, it can bring in like a type of hypnosis.
Do you know what I just
What?
remembered when you said that?
What?
Do you remember when you wore your poodle skirt and you put on a show at the church?
Yes, that was amazing.
I forgot about
that dance
that.
was really fun. That's going to be another
okay,
episode.
guys, I'm going to find the photos of that. I have them somewhere.
You do?
Yes,
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
gonna
you had to
find them. We'll
find
put 'em
it.
on
We did a
Facebook.
dance. That's another episode.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, you got me distracted.
Sorry,
That's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
okay.
I forgot all about that. It was like right in the beginning.
Yeah, so I learned that when you do like communal singing, which we did all the time, you guys, we would sing together all the time. And it would be very beautiful. You feel so moved by that. But when you get into those types of states all together in a group, then you can be easily manipulated and you can feel certain feelings. And so all of these things are happening all at the same time, you guys. So they're controlling where you live, what kind of clothes you wear. And it's not like they're saying, oh, you have to do this, you have to wear this. It's all done like through persuasion and through example and just through watching other members do it. And it's all so very interesting.
Yeah, it's like you want to fit in. You want to be doing what you should be doing.
Right.
It makes sense, like I said this earlier too, like socially this is like how we perform as humans. You want to fit in with the tribe that you live in, and so you live the way that everyone around you does, like that group think, like that's like natural. There's an element of all of this that's like,
right.
This is how humans react in any like social situation.
Evolutionarily.
Yeah.
You know that Travis Scott thing just happened?
Oh, yeah.
That we're going to talk about that in another episode, but it's like that group think when everybody is thinking in one way and moving together as a group, it can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so the next thing was that they would control your jobs. And so one of the ways that this happened, when I reflect, we weren't really able to have good jobs because we had to have the Sabbath day off, which is Saturday. And it's really hard to find good jobs that will give you Saturday off, that will give you all the times off for the feast, that will give you all the times off for the seminars that you're required to attend, for all the trips to Korea, for, all these things, all these events that we would have. So everybody would have like, temp jobs. I'm not saying everybody. There were people, that had higher jobs, and
it sort of reiterates the communal living situation, because it's like you don't really need a good job.
Right.
You're communally living.
right.
You're living here for pennies to the dollar.
Right. So that also comes into the financial control, because I think jobs and financial kind of go together.
Yeah.
So you're not making much to begin with. And you don't really care. Like you said, you don't care. You don't need a lot because you're splitting your rent, 3 or 4 ways.
Yeah.
So you don't need a lot. You need enough to tithe. You need enough to give your offerings. You need enough, and that's pretty much all that you need. So you don't really have a desire to advance, a desire to move forward, a desire to go to school or anything like that. And I do want to talk about something, and this is my personal story that I have actually never really shared with anybody, but when I looked back at it the other day, I thought, man, that was really messed up. And that really stood with me, and I think that I need to, get it out of me. I think trauma lives in you, you guys. Just a little quick side note. I believe that trauma lives in your body, and if you don't get it out, it's going to manifest, and I don't want it manifesting in me anymore. Anyway, there was one time when I was really upset about money. Like, for years, we were just struggling so much financially. I didn't work, because I was spending all my time, preaching and everything and studying. And, we didn't have a lot of money. And so I went and I talked to the leader of the church, and I was just so upset. Like, why can I not get this together? Why can I not figure this out? Any problems you have, you always go to the leader. And his response was that this was my sin, that I needed to figure out. Something about this I needed to overcome, and through that, I would be blessed by God. And I accepted that, and I actually took that with me, and I've had that in my mind since then. Like, I must be really bad at managing money. I don't know how to spend my money. I don't know, how to take care of it. And like, when you internalize that, it affects a lot of things in your life. Money is really important. But now looking back, I got really angry because I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because I was giving, the reason I didn't have any money was because I was giving all of my money to them.
Yeah, which is like the ultimate reason why you ended up leaving, right? Because they wouldn't let you.
I couldn't keep the Passover because we weren't tithing.
Yeah.
Because tithe is a sign that you're connected to God. If you're not tithing, you're not connected to God. It's a sign of your faith.
That is so
And
convenient.
other churches tithe. So it's not, I'm not saying anything about tithe. Tithe is in the Bible.
Yeah.
That you are supposed to give 10% as a way to be connected to God.
That's why the Bible's stupid.
Right. Right. So we're giving our tithe, we're giving our offerings, we're giving our children's offerings. We're helping prepare food. We had our children had tithe and offerings.
No.
Every service. You have 3 services on a Sabbath.
Wait. You guys had to pay 10% for each person? Or 10% for your whole family?
Well, we would do 10% for our family, and then our children would give a little chunk also. Every week.
What?
And then you also have offerings for every single week. And then you have 7 feasts that happen 3 times a year where you give more offerings.
Oh.
But you also sign up for like helping with the kitchen work, which we willingly did. Like, we willingly, like the Bible says, we gave with all of our heart, and we wanted to.
Yeah.
But looking back, I felt like I was a little bit gaslighty, like blaming me that I'm sinful because I don't know how to manage my money, when the fact is, I don't really have any money because I'm giving it to them.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I stepped out of the church, we were able to buy a house. We've actually bought 2 houses since then. We were able to pay off all of our debt. We were able to figure it out, even though, he said we couldn't. It was our sin. So it's just really messed up,
That's really messed
it's
up.
really, really messed up. And, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
And people don't have money. And so it's hard to step out and come back because you don't have money. You don't have money saved. It's a whole cycle of controlling your behavior. It's all that. The other thing, so let's move on, okay, to your routines, making a rigid schedule, having group meetings, having certain church organizations. These are signs of behavior control. Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you my daily routine. Can I tell you guys?
Yeah.
All right. I have it written down here. Hold on. This is your daily schedule. 5 a.m. you're supposed to wake up and pray. Most of the time I didn't, I'll be totally honest. It's so hard. It's so hard to get up early and pray. And then about 7 a.m. everybody gets up together and you pray first thing, and then you make breakfast. And everybody makes breakfast together. Everybody eats together, and you clean up together. And then you get ready. And then about 9 a.m. everybody comes together for preaching, and you go preaching together. And before you preach, you gather together and you sing together, you pray together, you tell stories together, and then you go out together to preach. And when you go preaching, you get persecuted. So it's like a shared experience. You're receiving persecution. And in that way, it sort of like chisels it into your heart that this is the truth. Because you're being persecuted like Jesus did, and you're experiencing it with these people, and it's like, it brings you closer together.
Oh, you mean together. Like when you interact with someone and you get like a negative reaction to it?
Yeah, that's what we call persecution.
Oh, so when you guys would like approach
so
people.
you're like, hey, do you want to do a Bible study? And they're like, go away, you crazy people. You're like, oh, yeah.
I got
That's a confirmation that, this is the truth. I know, it's weird. So anyway, so then we do that. We come back, and then we have lunch together. We prepare lunch together, so you cook together. And cooking for, I don't know, 10 to 20 people, lunch and breakfast, that's a lot of work. And then you're cleaning it together. And then we do, we clean, then we have Bible study. And then at 2:30 we go preaching again. So we do the whole thing again. We do praying, singing.
This is like Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday.
Oh, my gosh.
And Sunday.
Dude, no wonder
every day but Saturday.
No wonder why you didn't have a job.
Okay, yeah. Then we do it all over again. And then we have dinner about 6, 7. And that's for more people. That'd be for more like 50 to 100 people that would come for dinner and Bible study. And then you would have evening preaching or Bible study. That's when a lot of people would come in and, we would teach Bible studies. And then, the children are all playing together and they're having a great time. And then after you preach and do Bible study, then you clean the church. Everybody cleans up together. And then if you have extra time, you study. And then you go home maybe between, earliest would be 11.
Oh.
Latest would be 1 or 2 in the morning. So that, yeah. So then, by the time you get home, and then if you have children, that is very late. And that was something that I struggled with, and I was okay with it until my son started school. And then it was just so hard. I think that's when I really, really started, like,
That's kind of when you guys moved out.
Yeah, that's kind of when we moved out and sort of like, yeah. Because it's hard when you have a kid in school and you can't stay up that late. You can't. It's impossible. It's not sustainable.
Tuck your baby away.
No.
It's different when they're little and they can like fall asleep and you just like cover them with
But
a
when you
blanket.
lived in the church, you could. So like you could sneak away and put your baby to sleep, and then you could, because you're right there. Like you're in the same room, you're in the same building. Sometimes your baby would just be next to you sleeping while you're studying. Like it's a very family-friendly atmosphere, I will say. But that is literally your whole day. That is Monday. Monday, Tuesday you have service, and then you throw in some seminars. Maybe once a month you'll have like a 2 or 3 day seminar. And it's just, continual studying. And it's a life of prayer. It's a life of community. It's a life of singing. You do a lot of singing, so you're really like joyful. It's a life of suffering. And that's something that they take pride in, that we're suffering, by not sleeping a lot, it's our suffering. We're suffering like God suffered. And so you willingly accept that, and that makes you happy. I don't know. It's very fulfilling, and it's very exhausting. And it's not sustainable, for long periods of time. And that's why I think after long periods, people get tired and then they leave.
Yeah.
Another thing that they would do is they would have like urgent seminars, urgent meetings where you have to be there immediately. And so that's another way that they control you, like there's no time to go visit your mom on a Sunday because, you have urgent things to discuss. Yeah. Urgent Bible studies, urgent meetings. Yeah. So I think that is sort of how we would describe the behavior control. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I can't think of anything.
Oh, I have more. Okay, so it says that they would create their own culture.
Oh, right.
Okay, for behavior control. You sort of create, within your organization, you create your own little norms, social norms.
Okay.
Okay, we definitely had that. That's sort of connected with like the clothes that you wear, the haircuts that you have, the jobs that you have. A lot of people, work together. The words that you say. A lot of our culture was Korean, which I really thought was beautiful. Like it was sort of.
Yeah, I thought that part was cool.
Yeah, it's very clean. Cool. It's very neat, because it started in Korea. So a lot of the culture is Korean. So that was really awesome to be exposed to certain things like that. But there's very specific rules and regulations about worshiping. That's why you were not allowed to attend unless you're baptized. In the old days, I don't think it's like that anymore. But back in the old day, you were not allowed to attend because you're not a member.
Can you quickly describe how it is? Just because I really was curious the other night. I was remembering you guys had like a shower thing.
Oh, the baptism.
And I was like, how do you guys do that?
I'll just say how I was baptized.
Okay.
Well, it's just like a regular baptism. You just get baptized.
Well, I don't know. I feel like every church does it.
So they have these like, big, kind of like showers where you just have a drain and then they just pour water over you and they baptize you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.
In it?
No, so you're just poured water over.
Oh, okay.
I know that there's a lot of like sprinkling, a submerging. It doesn't matter, but we would pour water over you. So you would wear a robe and then and then people sing around you as you're getting baptized, and it feels very sweet and very peaceful, and you're baptized in 3 names.
Yeah.
And then after that, there's certain ceremonies that they do after that, they take from the Bible.
I was just thinking about, I saw a video on someone's social feed of them being like dunked all the way into like a big tub at a mega church. And I was like, it's so weird. And then, we were in a church when we were little kids where you get like sprinkled as a baby. Yeah. And then you're like baptized forever. And then there's some churches where you like have to keep getting baptized every time you want to. Right. So I was just wondering if you guys just do it the one time.
Right. We just do it that one time.
Sprinkle in a shower.
Right. But then we believe that's the one true time, that you were baptized. So everybody who is a member has to be baptized. And
so frustrating. I've never been to a service because they wouldn't let me.
Yeah. You could probably now, honestly. I'm sure it's a little bit more open now. I don't know why, but when I first started, that's the way it was. And then another thing that is really interesting is that it's divided into an organization so that, members are taken care of by other members. So it's very controlled, like who you can hang out with, things like that, which we're going to talk about later. But you come together and you sort of like talk together and you give stories together, which is a constant thing that you do. And like share together, sort of like confessions all together. Not confessions, but you're like sharing how God moved you that week or what kind of realization you had. And then when you share stories like that continuously over and over and over and over, it affects your brain. And it's like just repetitive, just in your brain. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, no, and it's like confirmation to your beliefs. Right. What's that called? Confirmation bias.
Right. And so I think that is what I have for behavior.
I love that.
Another thing I want to talk about is they do a lot of events.
Oh, like community stuff?
Like community events, like churches do, and I loved it, you guys. I love community service. I've always loved community service and helping people and having compassion for people. But
Mom.
in order to,
Mom gave us that.
Right. In order to organize those, I mean, it was a lot of work. And when you're a church leader, it's like, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. You don't know what you're doing because you really, you don't have a lot of experience. So I will say that I got a lot of experience. I learned a lot of Excel spreadsheets and a lot about communications and email and how to reach out to certain people. We would always try to get the most prominent people to work with us, and so we were in charge. They would be like, okay, you need to organize this, and it needs to be done in a week. And you need to still be preaching, and you need to still be studying, and you still need to be taking care of your kid, and you still need to go to work. And you still need to have all of this done by this deadline. It's just very, very exhausting. I'm tired just thinking about it. Holy cow.
One of the things that I've heard multiple people say too, is that from the outside, you seemed happy. Mm-hmm. It was a little like intense, but the church does so much good like community service. And so while it's good, I think it's also a very easy way to say like, look at how great our church is. We do so much community service. Right. Because we would come to events that you guys would throw and be like, oh, we have a whole pack. Oh, the socks for the homeless people. Right. And we're like, okay, I can get down with that. Oh. And, is that okay? I don't know. We'll have to find out, baby. Yeah, it's still good. So that was, I always thought that was sort of like manipulative in a way. Like, look at how good we are as an organization because we do all this great community service and it works. There were a lot of people that I've heard say that like, well, at least they do good stuff for the community, and you're like, yeah, but like at what cost? Like why are they doing it? It's so that the community can't say anything negative about them. They're like, this great church just donated all this sock drive.
But let me tell you, behind the scenes to organize those things is so hard, and that's why there is I wouldn't say that the church breaks the families up. I would say what happens is that you get so caught up in all of these things that you have to do to go to heaven that there's literally no time to breathe.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that they don't break families up. I'm saying like they're not like, oh, don't go hang out with your family. They're saying like you need to go preaching, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, and all these things come first. And then if you have any extra time after that, go on ahead.
Tony, you just handed me my video. Please, can I do it?
This doesn't even fit in this moment.
You just said that they split up families.
Let me do it.
Let me do it. Okay, you guys.
She's obsessed with this video on YouTube, and I don't even think that we're allowed to reference it, girlfriends.
Okay, I'm going to give you small little clues if you're interested. This is my favorite video of all time so far.
Okay,
in the
please
research
pause.
of this podcast.
Pause and listen to the disclaimer song.
Okay,
go back.
Disclaimer song. Are you back? Okay. So, guys, we're not going to give you the link to it because we don't want to get sued. We don't really know the legality of this, but it may or may not be a video that the church that Tony attended put out there into the universe, and it is just delightful. Okay, it's I guess if you wanted to just like put in the YouTube or the Google call experts break up families, then like I can't stop you from that, and then I'm not giving you the name of the church. So anyways, go ahead and watch this if you would like to, but I just want to start off. So the whole video is made by the church to show its members that it's not actually the church that breaks up families. It's actually the cult experts and the families trying to get people out of the church that are actually the reason why families get broken up when they're a member of the church. So it's a cartoon video with so much amazing things going on, you guys. Okay, it starts off, this kid like starts going to Bible study and he's so excited, and he comes home and he's like, hey family, and like I know why they do it, but the mom's accent, she's Italian, is it's so ridiculously awesome. I freaking love it.
And stereotypical, is that what you would say?
So,
like a stereotypical white person?
It just feels like they Googled
Midwest or from the
East
Coast?
East Coast. Okay,
Yeah,
it's like they were in Korea and they were Googling
right.
like what kind of accents do Americans from all over the country have?
Right.
And then they hired somebody to do that. I don't know. It's just like insane. Anyway, so Sam's mom's voice is my favorite. He tells his family like, come to the church with me. Come meet all this, and then they go, and they're it's so creepy. They go to the church and they're like, this is amazing. And I think actually there is where they're like, we do so much good community service. And I was like, ugh, gross. Anyways, then the mom goes to a dinner party with her friend Lisa, who is like, hi, Susan, or whatever her mom's name is.
I told her not to tell the whole story. It is amazing.
It's amazing. Okay, hold on. Let me just point out a few of my favorite characters, and then I'll let you watch it if you want. Okay, Lisa is the friend at the dinner party, and she goes, oh my God, I think your son is in a cult. And she turns into the devil. It's amazing. And she says, tisk, tisk, tisk. People who study the Bible go crazy. Like, just the weirdest dialogue. It's the coolest video ever, you guys. You have to watch it. Okay. And then Steve Hassan, the one who wrote this book about the bite model, they are 100% making fun of him to the point where I sent this video to Stephen Hassan. His assistant emailed me back. Super lovely. But they're very clearly making fun of him, and it is amazing. One of his quotes out of it, in America, it's okay to be part-time religious, but if you know someone who's full-time religious, you better watch out. That's like their character of Baron the guy. Anyways,
you guys have to find it. You have to find it and look for it. It's very ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's my favorite thing ever. I watched it like 600 times. And then one last point. They don't really tell you who this character is, but you'll know when Sam's grandpa comes in, he goes, come on, Sam. Why you gotta do this to the family? And he does this like Italian mafia voice to the mom's voice. It's just freaking fantastic. Anyways, please watch it. Watch it if you find it. And refer to the disclaimer song. Don't sue us about it. Anyways, thank you for letting me do that. I've been wanting to talk about that video since the day
She
we started.
has. She really, really has.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so that's behavior control.
Yay.
If you guys have any questions about any of these things that we talked about, then just let us know. Let us know about that. Can I say one really weird thing? And this is just something that was part of the Korean culture, which I was taught. I don't even really know if it's true. I've never looked at it. But they made me afraid to write in red. Did I ever tell you that?
Oh, no, I love that.
Because I guess in the Korean culture, when you sign a death certificate, you sign it in red. So it's like a sign of death. And so anytime we would write in red, they would be like, oh, don't do that. Don't write in red.
Yes.
Which wasn't like in the Bible. It wasn't like their Bible teaching or anything like that. It's just something that even now, if I have a red pen, I'm like, oh my gosh. I think that there's a lot of, Korean cultural things that I've adapted, which I actually really love. There's a lot of cool things. But there's a lot of things I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Never knew why I did that.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
I wonder how many things you do. That's another
Right.
interesting. We should keep notes of that and then
Right.
do a whole thing on that. Cool.
How long is it?
I don't know. I think that we should end it here and get back onto it on our next one. What do you think?
I think so too.
I think we did a good behavior overview.
Right. So this is only behavior. So when I looked at, all of these points, and then I compared it to my life, it's like word for word.
This is the moment when you started like really reading this book and piecing it together. This is when I saw you sort of go, oh shit.
You know what's weird though is I knew about this. I knew about this bite model.
Because you watched the video? No, I'm just kidding.
No, because like in 2010, some people left the church.
Yeah.
And we learned about Stephen Hassan then, and he was, being controlled by evil spirits and all this stuff. Like, they really, started all these bad rumors about him.
Watch the video to see how he was portrayed to the church.
Yeah, like, they're purposely portraying him. It's hilarious. I lost my train of thought. What?
Sorry. So now that you're out and you see it from the other side, you're like,
yes.
oh.
So it's weird how you can sort of, hear something, but it hits you differently at a different time of your life, right? And that's what's important. What I want to talk about in this podcast is, if you're trying to get somebody out of a mind control group, you have to be really persistent because you're kind of planting seeds little by little that may not happen right away. They may not come out right now, but later, they may hear that information and then it'll be like, what? Oh my God, it was right in front of my face that whole time.
Yeah.
How many times have you wanted to say I told you so?
Well, no, I haven't. I knew that you would eventually come out of it.
How annoying.
I'm sure I've said I told you so 1,000 times. I'm sure I've just said it to you, not wanted to.
Yeah.
Just be patient as a family member.
Yeah.
Just know that they're in there.
Yeah.
Know that they're just being so inundated with what they're doing in that moment. But eventually they'll come out.
And I would say that a lot of,
worry.
when I look at this mind control, I feel like a lot of it happens so quickly, within the first week, first month, first, few months. And so once you're locked in, then, you're just in a continuous loop of exhaustion and study and, propaganda, which we're going to talk about. So the next episode will be about information control.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about thought control and emotional control.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I really, really am so grateful. I could not believe it.
Yeah.
I could not believe the love and the support, and also some people reached out to me expressing that they've had similar spiritual trauma, and I was so moved, that they're listening, and I really hope that we can help people.
Stay tuned,
we can be a little community,
We're gonna have some guests on.
Yes, we're gonna have special guests.
We're gonna cover all of the basics, and then we want to have people on and kind of share their experience.
Right.
So that's kind of our ultimate. So stay tuned. We got some really fun stuff coming.
My real goal would be to have a special guest from the church. There's somebody that I would really love to speak with, but Lindsay doesn't think it could happen. I guess we'll see.
I don't know. I just can't imagine that they would willingly come on and talk to us, but if they did want to, and they know probably who they are.
Yeah. I mean, we're just here for dialogue, you know. I'm not here saying something is a cult. I'm just saying when I read this book and I read this part of behavior control,
I'll say it for her.
whew,
I'll say it for her. This is
Whew.
a cult.
yeah, you know, and it's just interesting how your brain adapts, how, you know, I also, if you guys are interested in learn about cognitive dissonance, there's this scientist, psychologist named Leon Festinger. And we actually studied him a little bit a few years ago, me and Lindsay. We read a book about him. And he's the one that you know, came up with the idea of cognitive dissonance. But one thing that he came up with, and cognitive dissonance is when you have two opposing ideas in your mind, and even though you know that they're opposing, you sort of rationalize yourself into making it okay. So like, for example, like, I know it's bad to smoke, right? I know it's a bad thing to smoke cigarettes. I know it's bad for me, but I do it anyway.
You don't smoke cigarettes.
No, I don't. I don't smoke cigarettes. I used to smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
I actually quit because of the church. That is one good thing.
Yeah.
I actually quit smoking cigarettes.
Let's make a list of the good things. You learned some good recipes.
Okay, but hold on. Let me finish. I did learn some good recipes. But
You're right. I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. So this guy, he explained so many things about how, you know, you can rationalize and justify things even though a part of you knows that it's not true or not right. And it's just so interesting how your brain can do that, you know, evolutionarily.
I think it's a
survival reason.
Yeah.
And so if anybody's interested in learning more about those, that is definitely something I would love to read about and explore, and, you know, we can talk about.
Also coming soon, a book club.
Oh yeah, book club. That's way in the future. If you guys are interested in a book club, let us know, because we love books.
We do.
So, you know, there's a lot. That was a lot to unpack, but yeah.
Our plan was to do like multiples of those.
I know, we were going to cover this whole thing in one episode.
We'll let you guys get back to your day, and we'll see you next time on our next Playing in Traffic.
Boom.
Boom, baby.